Israel just had its elections, and I think the results are still kind of up in the air as far as who's going to have the majority, as far as Netanyahu and his government, or else the left-wing party of Benny Gantz. But in the process of that, it's interesting. We just had Amy Klobuchar talking about the president giving sensitive Israeli intelligence to Russia, right? What Klobuchar doesn't mention is this very obvious, I mean, even to the point that Robert Kagan's writing a 4-page essay in the Washington Post regarding what he sees, and of course Robert Kagan's one of the original neocons behind the whole Iraq war policy planning, and he writes a whole op-ed about how the Israeli government is moving much closer to what he sees as this global right-wing fascist alliance with countries such as Russia and Hungary and India, as well as that. And so in the process of this, we're wondering about this Russiagate narrative. I think there's a lot of truth to it personally, but I think it goes way beyond that. It goes into the writings of people like Craig Unger in his book House of Trump, House of Putin, as well as Seth Abramson in his most recent book Proof of Conspiracy. So in this context, it's a much deeper investigation that's going on here, and the global nature of this in relation to the recent Israeli elections and Netanyahu courting Trump, Putin, as well as Narendra Modi of India in his campaign ads. We find all of this very interesting, and there's also, I think, a technological aspect to this as it relates to things such as Carbyne 9/11 and Jeffrey Epstein and things of that nature. So maybe we could get a quick response from you regarding this global nature of this right-wing movement that we think is very much behind the last election as well as influencing this current election.
Yes. Well, look, we've got a couple of problems in our electoral system. One is that we're now allowing rampant participation from other countries, which is not allowed. But when you don't hold Donald Trump and the Republican Party accountable through impeachment or any other means, well, what winds up happening is it encourages other countries to be involved. There's already way too much lobbying. And actually, Elizabeth Warren just came out with a policy to ban foreign countries from even lobbying. Why do they get to lobby? They should go through diplomatic routes. And so I'm against the money flowing in from other countries, the fake news that they're bringing in, the lobbying that they're doing overall, and the fact that we're just brazenly letting Donald Trump work with other countries to affect our elections. It's obviously outrageous, and it's not just about Russia. When you open the floodgates, any rational country would try to come and buy our politicians, and so I'm surprised China and others haven't done it more. And already countries that are allies have had far too much influence in this country, whether it's Israel, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and now India. We got to make our own foreign policy here, and they could be great allies, but at the end of the day, they're not America, and we have to look at things from our perspective.
This issue that Greg brought up of Carbyne 9/11, have you looked into the investigation of Whitney, Webb, the journalist, in the background of the larger Epstein network that is hooked into the Iran-Contra network? Roy Cohn even hooked up with aspects of CIA's Operation Underworld in the World War II era in terms of the merger of national security apparatus and compromise operations with the mob. Her latest article is all about Carbyne 911, which is an Israeli military intelligence started company that's trying to take over our 911 emergency system. And Jeffrey Epstein was a largely invested, Ehud Barak, Michael Chertoff, Russian oligarch Victor Vekselberg, and Trump's biggest funders from 2020. So you have not looked into that?
No.
Would you be willing to look into that whole series of articles that Whitney Webb did about the Epstein network and how it helped drive us to the Iraq War too?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell without knowing what's in the articles what I would look into. So, sorry, I don't have a comment on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Did you see the latest the study from the University of Alaska Fairbanks on building the run-up to 9/11 and Building 7 inclusive?
Nah, guys, I don't do 9/11 stuff. So, no.
You don't do science?
No, don't get into that. You got scientists on the other side too. It's not like climate science. And so, no, I know you guys think that there's no science on the other side. I've heard both sides.
I didn't say that. I'm saying science is not necessarily just a debate. It has to do with forensics.
Yeah, I'm not a scientist and I'm not a forensic expert. So, guys, Yeah, I don't get into 9/11 conspiracies. Sorry.
No, well, but do you believe Al Qaeda did 9/11 with Bin Laden? That's a conspiracy.
All right, guys. I got it.
It is the basis of our foreign policy. So if it's a lie, which it is, then we need to get to root it out. Are you aware that the only people that were arrested on September 11th under suspicion of being involved were Israeli intelligence operatives?
Falsely blamed on
No. Why don't you? Why are you not open to even looking into these facts?
No, look, guys. I've looked into it 17 times, and it's an endless rabbit hole. No side is ever appeased. It's not my expertise. So, but I appreciate your passion, but I don't agree, and that's all.
You don't agree without looking at scientific studies?
No, I looked at it earlier. I looked at it years ago.
Look at the one that just came out. It was a multi-year study by engineering students and an engineering professor.
Guys, look, everyone who has a theory, and let's skip out. No, hold on. Skip the conspiracy part, okay? A theory. Everybody has a theory on almost every major event, and 9/11 is enormously important, obviously. They're absolutely convinced of their own theory, okay? But there are equal and opposite theories, and those people are also massively convinced of their theory. And each side...
Where's the truth? Where's the forensics?
No. You're telling me that there's a new report about forensics. I haven't seen it, and so... Guys, I've looked into 17 forensic reports. Enough forensics. Okay.
Maybe you'd be interested in maybe bringing on the people who are behind this study.
No.
Even a debate.
No. I'm not interested in that. No. Because, guys, every theory says you have to bring on both sides. We've adjudicated this 1,000 times. So
have you ever adjudicated the science of September 11th?
Guys, that's it. I gotta go. I mean, look, you're asking this similar questions,
all right.
And I've told you I've looked into it in the past. I haven't read the most recent thing you're saying, and I can't reread things 100 times.
Did you read the recently released FOIA requests of the FBI documents documenting the Israeli intelligence operatives
I didn't.
arrested celebrating September 11th? We know
that
Netanyahu
sounds crazy.
Celebrated 9/11 himself.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, rather reported Mossad white.
No, that doesn't make any sense. I've seen no evidence of that. I don't believe that. Netanyahu was celebrating 9/11. That sounds crazy.
Very good. That's the quote. He says 9/11 was very good.
I can't stand Netanyahu. I think he's a dangerous right winger, but pointing out false things about him does not help.
Wait, he was quoted as saying 9/11
Okay,
was
I'm
very
done,
good
guys.
for Israel.
I'm done.
But you just accused us of making things up to try to those are facts, James.
Maybe Michael Curran knows the thing about Well, that was fun. I mean, he's letting Trump and Netanyahu. He's letting Trump get away with blaming Arab Muslims for celebrating this fallacy of who was celebrating what on September 11th in New Jersey. He's letting Trump, and he's also letting his would-be enemy Alex Jones get away with pushing this lie about who was behind the celebrating in New Jersey on September 11th that Trump claimed he saw from his tower. I mean, Trump? It's just, but right there, I mean, it's quite obvious where outlets like TYT will not go, and I think this is another classic example of that.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of that there's too much forensics. We've already had these conversations. We've already had these debates. We have not had these debates. That's the problem. And there is no debate. The forensics are solved. The University of Alaska Fairbanks is only scientific dispositive evidence of what every common sense person already knew.
Well, at the very least, Cenk talked to us for a few minutes. He didn't immediately run away from us, although he very, very immediately changed his tone towards us when the questions began to come up. But at least he talked to us.
He talked to us, and he definitely talked to us more than Amy Klobuchar talked to us.
He talked to us more than Tulsi Gabbard talked to us. We might see later this evening if she's willing to talk more. We'll see.
People want to pin us down, but they can't pin us down. So. And there's no way, if September 11th, the interpretation of September 11th is the reason for the entire 21st century foreign policy of the United States of America, then the forensics of what happened is not going to be solved by waving your hand. I didn't hear nothing. That's what he said. He said, I don't care. There are no FBI documents. Netanyahu never said 9/11 was very good. Yes, he did.
Maybe we could get it. Maybe Cenk could talk to his ally Jimmy Dore about maybe Whitney Webb and all of this, where that intersects, and or Kyle Kulinski. Who knows? But it's. And by the way, I think Cenk may have been tipping off that Bennett person about us. I'm not sure.
Well, definitely the place where Jimmy Dore and Cenk Uygur probably agree is on us and 9/11. Trust Noam Chomsky is the only meme.
We hate Trump, we hate Netanyahu, but we're going to run cover for them on some of the issues that matter the most.